Ladies and gentlemen, Binnall of America!
And now, ladies and gentlemen, your host, Tim Binnall.
No commercials, no subscriptions, no network, no rules. And at the end of the day, my friends, no comparison. Welcome to another edition of BOA The Revival. Really looking forward to this week's program. It's going to be a lot of fun. Our guest is Stephen Barcelo. He is the founder and owner of the Cryptozoology and Paranormal Museum in Littleton, North Carolina. And you can find out more about that at CryptoPara on Facebook. Just punch in facebook.com/CryptoPara. And also Stephen Barcelo on YouTube, where he has a whole bunch of cool videos up as well. Welcome to the show, Stephen. We've been friends for a little while now, a few years going back, and it's about time we finally got you on Binnall of America.
Yes, I'm thrilled to be here, and it's always good to deal with you. You've been really good to the museum, and I appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure, man. I love what you're doing. And what kind of inspired me to get you on the show, beyond having known you for a while, was talking to Lauren Coleman back in January about all the different museums there are around the country. There's about 6 to 8 Bigfoot, mostly Bigfoot. We were thinking in the conversation. We didn't want to include all the UFO ones, but yeah, right. 6 to 8 like Bigfoot, and yours is a Bigfoot Cryptozoology and Paranormal Museum. So I was like, I want to start talking to some of these folks who have these museums, and you were right on the top of my list because I've known you for a while. Now, when we bring on a new guest on the program, we start out with the bio, the background. I'm sure many people will hear your accent at first and be like, wait, what the hell? This guy's in North Carolina? So right. I happen to know you're from New York. Right. And so the question is, how did a guy from New York wind up in Littleton, North Carolina, running a cryptozoology and paranormal museum? What's the bio, the background on Stephen Barcelo?
All right. I used to be a journalist, New York Daily News, started as a photojournalist and videographer, and then just doing everything, wearing all three hats. So I covered Nassau, Suffolk County. So I'm still involved with a serial killing story that I'm actually partnering with another journalist to do a book. But I've done a little bit of everything. I was lucky enough to have a really cool boss. I was in Manhattan for a Christmas party, and I was up at the bar where you belong. And I was having a couple of drinks, and one of the guys comes up and goes, "Hey, I was just telling the boss how you're into the paranormal." I go, "Why the hell would you tell her that? What's the matter with you?" And Gretchen was cool. She was from England. I go over to sit with her. We end up talking about ghost stories and cryptozoology, ufology, and a whole bit. And she goes, "Why don't we do something with this?" I said, "You got to be kidding me! You want us? You're going to pay me to go out and do these?" And I was lucky enough to do a few brief documentaries. So it'd be a series of photos, and of course a short video going out and doing these. And that's video. And you know how it is, especially with the paranormal world. If you're going to go out and do ghost hunting, you're basically trespassing. So now I can actually call up like the Shanley Hotel. I went up and got the Ghost Cat, places like that, like Steve Barcelo, New York Daily News, like to come and do a piece, on your place. Like, when do you want to come? I got unfeathered access.
Yeah.
So anyway, I started doing that. I'm from Long Island, New York. We don't have Bigfoot sightings there. I mean, we're excited to see squirrels. So my first Bigfoot story, I think you've been up there, was Whitehall, New York. Paul Bartholomew was great. He helped me out. I did my first documentary with that, and it went over very well. I had a great time with it. But once again, the newspaper business was dying. I was looking to escape New York and get out, and I started traveling, looking for a place to move, and I found this really good deal on a big historic house in Littleton, North Carolina, which is up by the Virginia border, just below Lake Gaston. And we weren't sure if we're going to stay here. I mean, it was kind of like a stepping stone, getting out of New York, and then we sold the house in New York, and the market back then, we got a great deal on this house, got a really terrible deal getting rid of the house there. But it was what it was. That was 13 years ago. So I ended up moving down here. Next thing I know, I started hearing about Bigfoot sightings and, big paranormal activity, this big historic 1850 house, took advantage of it. I had town commissioners come to me. And at this point, I'm bringing the media in. Now, as a journalist, I kind of knew how to promote the story.
Yeah.
So they came to me and gave me a hard time. You're making us look stupid talking about Bigfoot. Meantime, the stories go back well over 100 years here, the Halawasa Pony tribe. I mean, I was getting really credible people as interviewing, which you guys can see on my YouTube channel. Yeah. And I go back a ways, obviously, pre-COVID. And it was just nuts. So I ran for office. More is a rub, but I have to send you my political sign says Bigfoot says, SEZ, vote for Steve Barcelo, commissioner. So I ended up getting voted in as commissioner. So I did 2 terms, and I was mayor pro tem. The mayor resigned, so I ended up being mayor and commissioner at the same time. So you never know where life's going to take you.
Yeah, you're the mayor of this town. That's crazy.
Yeah, so it's like, so I'll be your honor forever. And it's kind of funny that we helped turn the town around, brought a lot of tourism in. We still do. And that's kind of how I ended up here. It was not intentional. I had no plan of running a cryptozoology museum. Excuse me. I apologize. I sound funny. I'm a little under the weather. And but anyway, so it just kind of, you never know where life's going to take you. I mean, the journalist background helped me a lot as far as just interviewing people and moving forward and documenting things. And it hasn't stopped. People reach out to me all the time. And like I said, I still end up doing stories about, the serial killing story. This guy, Rex Harriman, that was arrested in New York for killing these sex workers. And that's an ongoing story. He's been in jail for a little over a year. And I won't go into that because it's a whole separate story. But, I've always got multiple irons in the fire. And now just, dealing with the museum. And right now, like I said, it's a slow time. We're working on new displays. I'm literally building some parabolic dishes here just because I'm an idiot and looking for more things to do. But that's kind of the short, to give you the Reader Digest version. That's kind of how I ended up here.
All right. How does one go about starting a museum?
Well, it's probably not a good idea if you've never done one because it's full time and you don't make a lot of it. I know Cliff Berrickman, and we have this discussion every once in a while. We're in Lexington, Kentucky doing the Crypticon, and it's a hard thing to do. And I'm sure, anyone that's running a museum for any period, it's for full time. We're 7 days a week. We might be slowing down and just doing that during the season, but it's a lot to do. You have to be here in a little town like this. I mean, it's hard to get people to work. Come in and help. Summertime, it's a little bit easier. You get the summer people since we have Lake Gaston, but it's a rough thing. But it started by just the stories that we hear. We started doing ghost walks up and down Mosby Avenue, which is the main road where the museum used to be in the old historic house. And it just, little by little, it was the front of the house, a living room, a couple of couches. And I had some artifacts I've collected along the way. And little by little, people donated haunted dolls. And it just took off. And once you're on Travel Channel, MTV, NPR, PBS, we've been on a little bit of everything. And thanks to you, coast to coast.
Oh yeah.
So we had a lot of media play, and it still happens. I was just interviewed by a big blue puppet the other day, Lenny the Puppet, some local thing around here. So you made it when you sat there and been talked to like basically a big cookie monster. And, but
I gotta tip my hat to you, man. The media coverage of the museum is tremendous because as I was getting ready to do the interview, I was sort of going through all the different press clippings I could find. And it was just like all kinds of, I guess, if you got a TV show or news, if you got local news and you need something around the Halloween or whatever, or in the springtime, it's always good to, go out to the Bigfoot Museum. That'll give you 5 or 10 minutes of TV time. You know what I mean? So it's, you guys a match made in heaven, if you will, the media and a museum like that.
And as you know, I just don't turn away media. I mean, anyone wants to come. College kids come in and want to do interviews, high school. I mean, there's no such thing as bad publicity. And I've had people come in and just try to be, idiots and just try to, get some views on their YouTube channel, whatever, just kind of being putzes. But, even that, I mean, I'm from New York. I'm used to it, so I deal with it. I kind of put them in their place and, but basically it is what it is. Overall, 99% of it's been very good. I mean, some you don't get much attention from. Some surprisingly small things have been very, you still get people. I had this guy, Omar Gosh, a YouTuber, come in. This is years before COVID. And the guy calls me up and I'm monetized and stuff. He goes, I'm a YouTuber. I have a pretty good thing. Yeah, whatever. Come on by. Little do I know at this point, this guy has like 3 million subscribers. And he shows up with another YouTuber. And I think it's like closer to 6. And but he was just a great guy. They come in, they're going live, and that's how got me monetized. I mean, to this day, people come into the museum and said, Omar sent me. I said, Omar? It's like, it's like, but it's just, you never know. And if I could, if I was a putz and said like, oh, I don't want you to come, I would have, I probably never would have got monetized. It would have been a lot harder anyway.
Yeah. Well, it's just to revisit your background a little bit. So you come down there. And so at first they were like, hey, quit doing, not necessarily quit, but like, hey, they were irritated by the Bigfoot stuff. But now have they come around to appreciating what you've done for the community?
The bulk have. Some people just never will. Yeah. I mean, that's just the way it is. So, but, overall, it's been pretty good. The people see the value in it. People, we're a little town in the middle of nowhere. No one's coming. Like as I tried to explain to them when I was, elected office, no one's traveling from, Canada, California, whatever, New York, to come to this little town of Littleton to eat at our Hardee's. But they come here because we're a very niche market, because they've seen us on TV and they want to see the museum and they want to they watch our YouTube channels. It's things like that, So
right.
And I'm sure you talked to Laura. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, yeah, I mean, with all due respect to Littleton, I mean, I was looking, I'm like, well, I'd like to, that's the only reason I would come to visit to Littleton, North Carolina, would be to see your museum. I have no reason why I would otherwise go there, but it's the kind of thing that's like, all right, now I got to go swing through Littleton someday and check this place out.
Oh, you got to come down, yeah. And I mean, the town's boomed. We have a brewery now, and they have Bigfoot T-shirts now. We have multiple restaurants have done Bigfoot tie-ins, like Bigfoot burgers, things like that. I mean, so it's just, even the local park, the state park, which was kind of like negative on us doing anything. Now they're selling their own Bigfoot T-shirts and all that. So we brought so much attention. So, I mean, it took a while. And we have people in town say, we didn't have Bigfoot until Steve got here. So that's not true. The stories go back. I didn't invent this. I'm the one telling the story. Yeah. I mean, I just became the voice of it, the face of it.
Right, exactly. Now, one of the things that interests me about a place like yours and all these different museums is I'm sure you get people who come in and they check out the museum and then they want to tell you their story, and they have some crazy stories usually. So tell me, if you can, what are some of the weirder or more interesting stories that people have come in and told you over the years?
We've had people come in and tell us how they've shot a Bigfoot years back. I had, we got to remember, North Carolina's military area. I had a guy come in, he works for Blackwater. He told me how he was actually employed out with a group to go capture one and then to shoot another one. He actually brought his rifle in to show me how he actually wants to go out. And it was like, please bring the gun outside.
Yeah.
Now, how legit these people are. I mean, I'm a journalist. I'm used to interviewing people, but I take a lot of it with a grain of salt. But I mean, it's story after story after story, and you can tell when people come in and they're shaken, and they start telling you the story, and they go right back to that uncomfortable position. But like Jesse Walker, a retired school teacher in town here, that's about 5 years ago, just down the road from the museum here, had a sighting in his backyard, 1:00 in the afternoon. Not a Bigfoot guy. Everyone in town knows him. This guy's, a very straight shooter. He goes in the backyard to put something in his garbage can. His lady friends are bringing him to go get lunch. Actually, I think you did this story. And
I was just going to say, we did it from coast to coast.
Yeah.
I have it here in my notes, and I wanted to bring it up, so I'm glad that you did. This is one of the more powerful videos I've seen in quite some time. He is rattled, man. He is shaken.
He cries through the interview. I mean,
Yes,
I interviewed him
amazing.
like within 20 minutes of the interview. Is terrible. My thumb's in one of the shots. I mean, I'm filming off my phone. I mean, I just wasn't prepared. It was the middle of COVID. I was an elected official. I think I was commissioner at the time. And I hear my dogs bark, and I go out there and I see Jesse. Like, you're elected official in a small town, you deal with everything. My garbage wasn't picked up. You know, my neighbor's dog's barking. I still get this. I'm not even in office anymore. Anyway, so I figure like I go out there, there's Jesse crying. His girlfriend Loretta's coming out of the car. I go, Jesse, what is the matter? He goes, I saw Bigfoot. I said, what? And this is not a guy that has a sense of humor or anything. So it's like I kind of question, come on in. I bring him in. I sit him in one of the pews. It was in the museum. It's still the new museum now. And but basically, I interview him, and he cries through the interview. Mm-hmm. Like you said, you've seen it. I mean, it was just
powerful,
nuts.
dude. It's powerful. It's like there's no faking this. Like I'm sorry, unless this guy Jesse Walker is like a fucking Broadway actor.
Exactly.
Down from New York, but yeah, he is like rattled, and he's like you say, he's crying and shaking over having just seen this Bigfoot. It was tremendously odd and unnerving in a way, but like heartbreaking and just remarkable.
And it shows how good you are at spotting these things out there and reaching out to me and saying, can we, talking about the story, because I've gotten dozens of interviews, but some of them just really stand out. They're just amazing things. They're very sincere. And Jesse's one of those.
Yeah. So these guys that said they came in and shot the Bigfoot, what the fuck? What was their claim that happened to the Bigfoot then? Then it ran off?
One of them here was down in Lewisburg. I do not remember the gentleman's name. It's somewhere in one of the past things. I did not get to interview him on camera. A lot of people will not be interviewed on camera,
I can imagine,
which gives it some credibility. I mean, it's a little tiny town. Like I said, the stories go back. Well, anyway, his story was he came in and he's with his wife. Now, this all happened when he was a younger man. He was courting his wife at the time. It was his father-in-law's property down in Lewisburg, which is not super far south from where we are, maybe another 20 some miles or whatever.
Yeah.
And you got to remember, a lot of wooded areas here. Well, anyway, they were having issues there, and he was back doing something. He was messing around with his father-in-law's rifle, an old military rifle, which he wasn't supposed to be playing with. And he had a couple of rounds in it. And they look back at the one of the buildings, which is a trailer up high. And he's saying, like, the window that this thing was near, and an air conditioner was sticking out the window, would have been at right 9 foot, 8.5, 9 foot. He says, and that's where this thing's shoulder was. So his girlfriend at the time, future wife, goes, look at that thing. Look, what is that? And they're kind of freaking out. And she's going, shoot it. And he wasn't sure if he wanted to shoot it because they were a pretty good distance away. But he's kind of looking at this thing. And he goes, all right, she's like telling me to shoot this thing. So he takes a shot, apparently hits it somewhere in the shoulder because it grabs its shoulder as he hits it. It lets out this yell and storms off into the woods. Huh. So, of course, the story follows up this. His father-in-law comes out, hears the gunshot, and basically reams him for messing with his gun. He goes, I can't even tell him that we just shot this thing. We don't know what it is because he's already pissed at me for this. And he was proud to tell me at the end of the story, that gun is his now because once the father-in-law passed, it got passed down to him. But basically, he said this thing was in the area for a long time, and it was doing all kinds of mishap things, ripping things up. He'd hear it yelling in the woods. Apparently, it was around for a while. It wasn't like it died from this. I guess it survived for quite a period, or maybe forever. But with this now, one of the things they do down here, logging is huge. He says once they log the area, which is about every 8 to 10 years, depends on the area or how the wood is. He goes, and they never heard of it again. He said, but they were afraid to go out at night because this thing was still out there. They would hear it moving around. Never saw it near the building again.
Yeah.
But it's just another one of those stories.
Wow.
Somebody walked in. I remember they were there with their grandkids. This will give you the age difference from when it happened. But story after story coming through. I mean, I've interviewed somebody, and you got to go to my YouTube. So many people I've actually been lucky enough to get on camera, and quite a few of them have come back to me after the fact and said, I'm so sorry I let you interview me on camera because I still get harassed to this day that I'm that crazy person that saw Bigfoot.
Oh, geez. That's.
I mean, I mean, and I feel bad because I'm not trying to use these people. They're willing to be interviewed, but I've had deputy sheriffs come here. I mean, you'd be amazed at people who've talked to me one-on-one, don't want their names out there, don't want career problems, but who've seen things. One's a deputy sheriff down on Route 4, once again, a little south of us, down on the way to Medoc Mountain State Park's about 12 and a half miles where the museum is presently. Littleton's small, so not even a mile and a half wide. But anyway, he's driving along. He's on a night shift, drives down the road, and he sees this large thing on the side of the road. So he down here, these are impoverished counties, no dash cameras or anything. You're just starting to get that sort of stuff now. Even body cams are all relatively new to the last 8 years or so. But anyway, so he sees this thing. He's just kind of has his lights on. He pulls up and he stops. He's watching this, thinking it's a bear. The thing eventually looks towards him, stands up on two legs, and walks into the woods. He says he kind of freaks out, turns the vehicle into that, so the headlights are on that area, and he slowly rolls towards it. Because at this point, he goes, I'm reaching for my gun. I don't know what the hell I just saw. He goes, and there's a dead deer on the side of the road. This thing was feeding on a dead deer, but walked off like a human into the woods.
Weird.
And he actually pulled up in front of my museum. This was back, once again, we're back at the house. And like I said, you get to know everybody around here. And he came in, obviously doesn't want his name out there, but that was something he had. But that is so common. It's mostly people who are not into this that have sightings and things happen to them. And they're the best interviews.
Yeah. And the remarkable part, it speaks to, the cynical people who are like, oh, they make up these stories because they want attention. It's like, no, from what you're saying, a lot of them don't even want to be on video. And then the ones that do go on video, some of them end up being like, I wish I hadn't done that. So it flies in the face of the claim that they're looking for attention.
Yeah, I'm lucky if 20% of the people that come to me have any chance of me even getting them to interview. A lot of them don't even want to be recorded. I mean, they just come in, want to tell me stuff. And you can usually tell in a museum when someone comes in, they kind of walk around, they're looking at you, and eventually the wife will go like, tell him. He's like, and that's when they come up and tell me the story. Yeah. And, and they just want, they kind of want, it's same thing with the paranormal world. People want to be able to tell someone their story. They probably told a family member or a neighbor, and they just rolled their eyes and looked at them like they're crazy. Well, here they can come. They're, with people who are like-minded, and we can tell them, okay, other people have seen that. Don't think you're crazy. Yeah. This is what happens. And that's with anything, ufology, paranormal, spook lights. I mean, that's a common thing around here too.
Yeah. Now, I know that you are based on, I watched a lot of media with you in it. So earlier tonight. So I don't remember what thing it was, but one of the times they interviewed you, you said that some people think I know this because I've done this a million, forever. So I know the hypothesis here that some people think it's paranormal. Some people think it's flesh and blood. You're largely on the flesh and blood side. But before you sort of explain your take on that, have you had people come in with odd paranormal Bigfoot stories?
Oh, sure.
Can you remember any in particular that really blew your mind?
Yeah, I like I said, if you were doing video, I could show you some things. George, one of the guys that works with me, actually, you did a story on George, too. When he first came down here, he's a retired cop out of Delaware. He was a state trooper. He was in charge of the IT department. So this is a guy with some credibility. He's obviously got some good education. But he moves down to North Carolina, and it's a shame. He could have got up on. He was just called me today. And moves down to North Carolina, be near his family to retire. During COVID, he's got nothing to do. He's, left his fishing behind in Delaware and all that. He's kind of landlocked. And he's looking for something. He hears about this Bigfoot museum, and he comes by and sees me. At the time, I was officially closed, but he came by and he drove all the way from Raleigh, basically. I said, come on in. So I show him the museum. We end up talking. He's a fellow Northerner, basically. We're swapping stories about, so what's it like when you move down and blah, 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 just the life-changing things when you move someplace different.
Yeah.
So anyway, I give him a map of Medoc Mountain State Park, tell him some of the stories. He ends up buying a Bigfoot go bag. We're just making them up again now, which have, a casting kit in it, some evidence kit, basic stuff. Yeah. He heads off, and about, he has my number and stuff. About 2.5 hours later, he texts me and he sends me these photos of really good looking prints. He goes, do these look good? I go like, right back, hell yeah, where did you get these? And he explains to me, I'm not sure which trail I'm on, but here and there. I said, did you cast them? I just, do you need a hand knowing how to cast them? You just bought this kit. And he sends me a picture of a snake, and it was a toxic snake. It was
oh, Jesus.
A cottonmouth. He goes, I don't do snakes. It was near the area by the water. It was a good move. So he explains to me where it is, and he heads out. Now, I just met this guy. So I head down there. It's starting to rain, and there was about 5 prints. I was able to cast one, and that one's not great, but you can see some dermal ridges in it. You can see a little bit left. So I'm out there, and I filmed the whole thing. I'm pretty good about throwing a camera on a monopod or a tripod and trying to document things. And like I said, you did a story on George coming down. And so we've had story after story here. But, he's another one, just came down here, was not looking for, not a Bigfoot guy. Now he's into it. Oh, my God. He can tell you multiple stories. He's had sightings. Now, he's had an interdimensional one, getting back to where I went off on a tangent here.
Okay. Yeah,
But basically, he was out. I had a tick bite about 6 years ago, so I couldn't, I was all messed up from Rocky Mountain spotted fever, alpha gal, and all that. I'm done better now. But anyway, so he was out. I wasn't out with him that day. They have, because he's a cop, ex-cop, and these guys, they like to wear body cams too, which is a good thing to do, by the way. And we're all switching that way. They're better than the GoPros. So he's out there. They have some equipment. They have the thermal cameras, all the stuff. He's invested money. His wife's probably ready to shoot me because of this. But anyway, they're out there, and he's with this other guy, Johnny, and he has very similar equipment. And they're walking through this area, and as they go through, he's from up north, so he's a cusser. And the equipment goes down. He's going, God damn this. He's kind of bitching and complaining. And the other guy goes, what's the matter? He goes, all my equipment died. The guy goes, mine too. So they go, what? So they start shutting it down, rebooting it. Well, later they go through the body cam footage, and it's like 2 or 3 frames with this like weird, almost like someone fired a laser into your camera. It's this weird mosaic sort of thing. Yeah. So something weird happened there. So he felt it was some sort of a portal. Now, another thing that happened to George, too, another outing when I was still hurting from my tick bite, and that's when PBS came out. So if you watch the PBS piece, you're going to see me looking a little out of it, and I was just really hurting at the time.
I think I did see that one. Yeah.
That was just a mess. But anyway, another one that he was out there, and they're literally out Bigfooting all day. It was a hot day, and he's kind of done. He's got to go back home. And one of the guys comes up and goes, George, get your equipment. At this point, he was like one of the only guys that had a thermal camera in that group. So he's literally just, he just took his vest off and all this other stuff. So he grabs a thermal camera, and as he walks over there across Fishing Creek, which is a hotbed over there, which is a lot of our prints in the museum have come in that whole area there, which Fishing Creek goes quite a ways. But he picks it up, he turns it on. Now, the AGM scopes back then, they've been refreshed and actually come out with a whole new line right now. But he turns it on. There was about I'm going to say a 10-second delay, maybe a little longer before you could do anything. You couldn't take a picture. So he turns it on. The guy's going, over here we hear it. So he kind of looks across. He goes, oh, my God. And he can clearly see this thing. And it's moving through the forest. And he's trying to take a picture. Says, give him an error. And as it walks behind a couple of trees that aren't even big enough to cover this thing, it kind of disappears. It's like, he says it was like it folded into another dimension. And he came to me next day. He goes, Steve, I am uncomfortable saying this, but it was almost like it was interdimensional. And so here's a guy that's very based in, computer science and all this to go down that road. I mean, so.
Interesting.
We get story after story. I mean, and George is a good guy. He's still around. I mean, like I said, I just had a conversation with him. We're discussing these parabolic dishes we're making and some other stuff. So.
Yeah. So do you still fall on the flesh and blood side, or are you open-minded to the possibility?
I'm definitely open-minded. I mean, I right now I've gotten too many prints. I haven't got any good hair samples, and we're actually just put together some really good evidence kits just in case for scat and anything else. But I've got prints here that have dermal ridges. I have, I've gotten some amazing stuff, and you've seen my thermal images that I've gotten. I've been very lucky to get some really good captures out there.
Yeah.
And
how often would you say you go out do you go out like in response to a Bigfoot sighting, or you go out in just on an initial thing just to look on your own?
Both. Yeah. If I hear something, I run out there as quick as I can. I try to travel even for other things as best I can. But yeah, I was just out like my, My girlfriend Renee, I just took her out. One of the last, I got some videos I got to upload. They're still in the camera here, but one of the last ones we did, it was we actually got some snow down here, which is rare, and we're out there walking through the park, and it's crunching, and she's just nothing major. It's just a tree knock response, but she picks up a stick. Now she's pretty new at this, and that's how I met her, just coming to the museum. And she picks up the stick, and he hits the tree, and it just kind of like falls apart. And it's like, so it is laughing. I'm videotaping her. So what's left of the stick? She just does these two like wimpy thuds on the tree. And she's kind of grinning like she's, her first tree knock. And across the river, you get two thuds that sounded just as wimpy and thuddy. So, if I didn't know any better, you would think it was an echo. But we actually did other knocks and got nothing. But it's like, I looked at her, so like, wow, you just got a response. Now, the park is closed for the camping area. So, and that can be open for like another month and a half if it actually happens. Depends on the contractor. They're redoing it and putting cabins and stuff like that. But the bottom line is, I know nobody was there. Right. I got thermal cameras. I can see distance in. There's no leaves in the trees right now. When I go in, there's only so many places you can park right now with the camping area shut down, the gazebo and all that. So you either got to park at the ranger station or at this one little spot we go. And I recognize everyone's cars. And it was like Lily, since it was snowing, no one else in their right minds out walking the park. Right. And so we were out there by ourselves. So we had another couple met us later, but they were coming there literally just to meet us.
And what park is this?
Medoc Mountain State Park.
Okay.
It's
and this is a big, okay. That's what I thought. This is a big place then.
Yeah, and we've had, and the stories go back, and the Haliwasaponi tribe is just down below that in Hollister. But the stories throughout this area go around. Blue-eyed Bigfoot. It's talking about, some of those things right here, well over 10 foot. People talking about this group of smaller ones around, like almost, it sounds weird, but like midget Bigfoot. And there's a story that Minnie Silver tells, which I have on my, so I did an interview. She used to come to my conventions and talk. One of the elders from the Haliwasaponi tribe. Unfortunately, she passed away during COVID. And but she talks about one being beat to death. How this little one got in the house, and back in the day, this story goes back well over 100 years. Wow. They were all sharecroppers back then, and so they lived in homes that were owned by the boss man. You had to, the money you got was basically you bought from the boss man's store. At the end of the year, which I never knew coming up from the north. There's a whole you learn, there's a whole education. So at the end of this year, they go through, and if you bought too much bacon fat or this or that, you didn't make any money. You might even owe them money, so you're stuck there for another year. If you're lucky enough to have $100 or whatever, maybe you can move up north to your family or something. It's a crazy thing. Well, anyway, so but everyone, it was a community. One of these things gets in one of the homes there, and they actually, as she said, to set the house on fire. If you listen to the video, but they did basically, they smoked it out. They created, the homes are very, they're not water airtight by any means. And they left the door open. They said people back after the repression actually saved everything. So these things are very cluttered. So they smoke it out. As the thing comes out, everyone gathered there. They have sticks and things. This thing comes out, they beat it to death. Jesus. I look at her, I go like, where did they bury this? And then she...
Good question.
She wasn't sure. I was commissioner at the time, said maybe we could unearth this thing. This would be huge. Yes. Yeah. Oh my God, do a DNA. Did you kill a hairy child? What happened? And really, it's like, but she didn't know. And and unfortunately, like I said, she's gone, but I do have that video, and she did come a couple of years and talk to her. But the stories are like nonstop down here. Like I said, I'm from Long Island, New York. Even when I went up to talk to Paul Bartholomew up in Whitehall, New York.
Oh, yeah. I love Paul.
Paul's great. He was really helping me out with the whole story for the Daily News. But, even the story, the A Bear roadside, he was back in, the 70s? You probably remember better than I do. It was,
maybe 70s, maybe early 80s.
Yeah, exactly. It was, but I come down here, these things are happening in real time. It's like, this is unheard of. And that's why I told the town, we got to take advantage of this. You had the world's best tomatoes and the world's best cantaloupes. Become the cantaloupe capital. You have Bigfoot sightings. This is huge right now.
Yeah.
So
what do you think's going on down there? You think there's a pocket of Bigfoot living like in the state forest?
Not just the forest, the whole area. It's just the forest happens to be a place we send people because I can send you on the property where you don't have to worry about getting shot. Private property down here. They put purple paint up, but people don't want you on their property.
Right.
Everyone down here has a gun, so that's a safe place to go. But we've had sightings right in town. I mean, Moore Street, right in front of the museum here, going down. Like I said, the town's not real big. I mean, 3 sightings since I've lived here, and I've been here 13 years, just in that one block.
Really?
And Jesse Walker is one of them.
And and this is close to wilderness then. I think it's like said. I think I read somewhere there's only like 600 population's like 600 people.
Right. Exactly.
Tiny.
So,
like I don't think people to wrap their minds around it, folks. Just to repeat myself, we're talking a population of like about 600 people in Littleton. So this is this is small town.
I mean, you do Google Earth, you move out, and it's nothing but forest. Logging's the business around here.
Yeah.
So, and even the loggers rarely see stuff. The people who see things out there have come to me quite often. Once again, I've got nobody willing to go on camera, or the surveyors that go out there. And they're the people that have to go into this wilderness and figure out the property lines, where a logging road is going to be built so they can get the trucks in there and they can cut the trees down and process them and all that sort of stuff. And these are the guys, a lot of us squirrel hunters. Squirreling's a big thing down here. And so I'll carry a 22, usually a larger gun too, just as a safety thing, because there were a bear and wild pigs and all kinds of stuff here. Yeah. And, but basically, these are the ones that come to me. The few that have come through and say, like, I was out there, I'm doing my job, and all of a sudden, I shoot a squirrel, I'm going to do it. And all of a sudden, trees start shaking. Like I took someone's thing and they see this thing go storming through. Oh, Jesus. So, yeah, it's just a story. I mean, the stories are so plentiful here. It's just crazy.
Yeah. And what makes me, like, I was trying to sort of like encapsulate this in a way. And it's like, also at first when folks hear this, or, when I hear, it's like, okay, wait a minute, what is Bigfoot like walking around in this town for? But then it's like the town, like Bigfoot's not coming into your territory. Like they put the fucking town in Bigfoot territory. Exactly. And so it's no surprise that the Bigfoot might be crossing through. I think he said it's like a mile and a half around the town. So
literally.
Yeah. So, the rest is all forest. So essentially, you guys, not you guys, but the people who made the town, essentially just put it right in Bigfoot country, and the rest is Bigfoot history, if you will. Yeah,
the sightings have been around forever, and this town's now booming a little bit again. We're bringing back jobs, and the problem they have these other towns, like when I-95 and I-85 were built, the railroads dried up. Route 1, Route 301, where the main roads go into Florida. So that's where all the hotels and motels, mom and pop shops were. They're all drying up. I mean, so things change as things happen. Yeah. So Littleton was a booming town at one time. It was still small, but like Rose's department store started here. I mean, it's got some cool history here, and but now it's we're finally bringing it back. And if Bigfoot can be a part of that, that's huge. Yeah, and it's not like we're making it up. I mean, we're just working on the stories that are here. Nobody else wanted to stick their neck out and be the idiot that's going to do that, and I just didn't. I don't care. I mean, it's just I was in South Carolina doing an interview with a guy that didn't turn out to be a very good interview, but anyway. And on the way back, because I can't eat beef and pork, well, I can now, thank God, just changed. But at the time, I stopped at a Burger King to get myself an Impossible Burger, and I'm sitting there, and this guy comes up to me and goes, "You're the Bigfoot guy, right?" So you see me on TV and stuff. So I start talking to him. So it was funny. After I left there, I remember calling a friend and going like, "Do you believe this? With all these huge stories I worked as a journalist, I'm the Bigfoot guy."
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm not complaining. I but I thought it was funny, of all things to be known for,
Yeah. But now, when you moved, go ahead. When you moved down to Littleton, you had no idea before you got down there that this was like a Bigfoot?
Oh no, had no clue. And my wife, if I did know and said was moving there for that, she never would have let me. My ex-wife, I should say. I just went through one hell of a divorce. So, but
sorry.
That is what it is. Moving on.
Yeah. And, yeah, okay, so you had no idea when you moved down there. So it was just happenstance. You happen to be a long-time paranormal enthusiast. You get down to Littleton, and you're like, holy shit, this is a Bigfoot hotbed.
Yeah, I always loved this stuff. But like I said, being from Long Island, I don't have this. The one story I did was upstate New York with Paul Bartholomew. I mean, I enjoy this stuff. But I didn't even believe, be honest with you. I was a skeptic at best. I think it's a great story. But I come down here, it's like, you got to be kidding me. I mean, I'm hearing story after story. Tiffany Merrill, I get a call from her mother. That's the first one I did. Had a sighting like early in the morning. 5 o'clock in the morning, her mother calls me. So I do the journalist thing. I grab a pen, a camera, I run over there. And that was the first one I did. And she was so horrified. She heard her boyfriend pulled their daughter out of school. And her daughter was, I guess, 5 at the time. She was in kindergarten. And they moved away.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was just, that's the kind of stuff I was dealing with. Like, you got to be kidding me. I've never heard sightings so fresh and repeated like that.
Yeah.
And as I started to publish it and talking about it, I became that guy. And all of a sudden, I was getting from brand new stories to people coming comfortable to tell me stories that they had, why they don't go fishing anymore, why they'll never go out in the woods again.
Yeah.
And, story after story.
Wow. Now, how come? I mean, I can kind of. I've sort of wrestled with this question throughout my life, my career in this thing. So I mean, I don't expect you to really have an answer, but I'm interested in your take on it. If the Bigfoot is so plentiful down there, why do you think? I mean, you said someone shot it once, but how come you think no one's ever hit it with a car or got a kill shot where they could bring it in and be like, "Here it is, I got Bigfoot"?
I can't answer that. I wish I could. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if they bury their own, or it's hard to say. And that's where a lot of people come into that whole interdimensional thing, where once something happens, they move on to someplace else, and literally there's nothing left behind. But I mean, I've only seen a couple of dead bears since I've been down here. One was on I-95. Someone hit a bear. I mean, I've been out even the hunters down here don't generally go in the woods. There's a few do. I mean, there's some turkey hunters and stuff, but even the deer hunters, they hunt with hunting dogs. These actually, I rescued the dogs. I have one sitting on my foot here, looking to go outside and pee. And basically these hounds that they use, and they basically you see the trucks parked on the side of the road. They let the hounds out. A couple of them have radio collars, and once they get on the deer, they howl, woo, woo, woo. They go, and when the deers cross the road with the dogs, they shoot them. I mean, it's kind of a crazy way to hunt. I mean, I'm used up north where everyone's in deer stands and stuff, but that's what it is. So the bulk of the hunters don't even go in the woods here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so it's not like, for groups like us to go out there and spend time with thermal cameras, drones, the whole bit, we're probably getting so much more out of this forest and getting so much more research than most people do, unless you're literally surveying property. And even those people, once they're done, they're done. We go out repeatedly and check things. And one of the things we'll do is I bait. I like to go out there and leave, apples behind, things like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes we'll hang things. We don't want to litter. So anything we put out there, we pick back up. But I'll hang things from the trees. Of course, game cameras we haven't had much luck with. But like right now, I just got a whole bunch of weird things. I got them out of a bin store, believe it or not. And these large chandelier like teardrops. And so I've tied those up. I haven't put them out yet. I'm going to wipe them down and hang them from the tree. Remember, people used to hang CDs from the trees?
Yeah.
Looking for something to touch it, leave a greasy fingerprint. So that's kind of what I'm doing with these.
Oh, interesting. I like that.
So I'm going to hang. So it's going to be kind of like a weird chandelier hanging out in the woods. I'm hoping it glistens. It brings in some attention. I'm going to try to hang it roughly around 8 to 9 feet up or more. And then I'll go back. And if I see something, then use a fingerprint kit and see if we can get something or grab some DNA swabs and stuff.
Oh,
just trying some different things. Just trying some different things.
Yeah, I like that. Interesting. Yeah, that would be cool. Imagine that. You get like a thumbprint or something.
It would be huge, yeah.
Yeah, it'd be fucking crazy. I'd lose my mind. That would be amazing, dude.
This is probably why I'm divorced, too. By buying all this stuff going through this, multiple.
Well, I mean, look, I don't know the deal here, but you said if your wife knew you were going down there for because it wasn't for Bigfoot.
Oh, yeah.
You said, but maybe once you got there and it became about Bigfoot, she's like, all right.
Well, she tolerated for a while, but I mean, it's just, it's when it's not your realm, it's not your realm. So
yeah.
It's just,
So on the Facebook page, it says the museum is also home to Littleton Pigfoot. What is that?
Right.
Like an inside joke?
No, actually, it's a thing. I've only had about 4 people come through and talk to me about it since I've been here. Mm-hmm. But down the road is the Smithfield Genetics Lab, where they supposedly they used to have all the stuff on the website. You could actually Google Earth it; it would come up, and all that's been scrubbed since we talked about it. Since we were on a couple of TV shows about it, but they're doing apparently engineering leaner pigs, which makes no sense to me. I think that's the idea of a pig, to be fatty and whatever.
Right.
And and a couple of people in town told me how they fix some of the trucks here, and they have all the stainless steel nitrogen tanks in it, and it's for pig sperm and stuff like that. So it kind of leads into doing some. I mean, see, when you think your job sucks, just think of that,
Yeah.
And But anyway, people claim they see this thing out there and they hear these crazy noises. And this is down off Jesse Sharon Road. So basically, they see weird prints out there. There's an area where nothing grows. There's another one of those strange areas out there where it's kind of like a dead area for plants. And
Weird.
people, one of the guys came to me, the most recent one, I'll tell you, a father and son, and this is pre-COVID, so it's a little ways off, comes in and says, we were hunting. We shot this deer. It wasn't a clean shot, so we're following the blood trail in. We're trying to find this thing. We don't see it. We can't, like, the blood stops. Like, would it get better? So we go a little farther in, and they know they're coming to this spot where nothing grows.
Yeah.
And they're uncomfortable in that area. Well, they get near that. They see this thing go running across on two legs, and it looks like the Littleton Bigfoot, which basically kind of half human, half pig. It doesn't have the deer with them, but they see this thing, and it's like, that's it, we're done. So they're assuming one of these things might have grabbed the deer and run off with it. But I mean, that's one of the stories out here. Now, I can't.
Wild.
I mean. Now, with the Bigfoot stories, I can show you thermal image we've got. I mean, I'll tell you I'm 100% believer in that. The Littleton Bigfoot, it's a bit of a stretch. I don't know, but I'm open. I have to be open to everything. I mean, just look at ufology now with Congress involved. I mean, geez, even Congress talking about interdimensional things.
Yeah.
I mean, it's for the fields you or I are involved. It's just huge. I mean, there's a whole other world opening up. So.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Now, at the museum, I heard you also have a haunted doll.
Oh, we got a bunch of haunted dolls. I mean, I have a back room full. We get stuff like that sent to us all the time. I have a rocking chair that was in a antique shop that would be rocking on its own. I have a hay crane that someone hung themselves on the rope that was in here. The family asked us to come in and remove it. I have some caskets in here, mirrors that supposedly have spirits trapped. One was a paranormal group out of Jacksonville, North Carolina. Another one came out of Gettysburg. The paranormal group actually brought it to us, drove it down here.
Oh,
so we become the clearinghouse. I mean, dolls alone, I couldn't even count them. One box alone, I probably have 20 some dolls in. But anyone has anything creepy they've done with, it comes away. And I can't say all these things are 100% haunted, but some things we definitely get activity off.
Yeah.
The building we're in now is a new building. I'm no longer in the house. We had to shut that down for COVID, and obviously going through, the separation, divorce, and all that. So now I'm in this new building. I'm not sure how long we're going to stay here. Hopefully for a while. But it's an old church. It used to be a honky tonk. Somebody was shot and killed. So it's not a super old building. Yeah, it's got some weird stuff to it, and we get some odd stuff here. We get the voice of a little girl. We do some paranormal investigations in here every once in a while. Things move in here. It's common to have one left shoe get untied. That's a common thing. It's like a childish thing constantly. My girlfriend, Renee, she was having issues with it almost daily. And she went back to, Savannah, where she's from, had to do some stuff. And when the first day she left, my shoe gets untied. And I double knot my sneakers. I get the little stretchy sneakers that I just slip on. So I was having the issue. The first day she comes back, had no issue the whole time she's away. First day back here, it happens again. So just weird things like that, so it's odd. We try to document. I have cameras inside and out of the building, just like I had in the home. If you go to the my Cryptozoology Paranormal page on Facebook, there's a video there we had of one of the dolls, Miss Beasley, and she used to get movement. We have had no movement off her in like 6 years. But back in the day, we had major movement. But if you look at the old house, you see the shadow person come up from the floor and go down the hallway. We caught that.
Weird.
Actually, I got a good thing.
Yeah,
we've got some crazy stuff. I've been very lucky. Did you saw the ghost count at the Shanley Hotel I got, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Another one. I mean, I've been very lucky to get things. I overdo everything I do. I put way too much equipment out. It takes me forever to go through everything. So.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, yeah. Do you think, in a way, I guess you've gotten stuff, so you can't really say necessarily this is the case, but maybe less equipment would be more enticing to the Bigfoot. I don't know.
Possibly, yeah. I mean, I go out there. I don't like to make noise. I'm not, like we did tree knocking the other day. It was the first time Renee ever did it, and so occasionally, if nothing's happening, I might do something. Generally, I go out there when things go quiet in the forest. I go quiet. I just want equipment running. I'm documenting things. And like my best thermal image, I think you've seen that too. That was the one that I've got multiple shots. I have a whole series. This thing walking through the forest like 3:00 in the morning. And that's my Mona Lisa. I mean, it's the best evidence I've ever gotten as far as anything on the Bigfoot end. And I was making no noise. There was a group down there being interviewed. It was day 3 of us camping out, and I just lucked out. And I had a flare scope at the time to scout it before I went to the AGMs, and I almost deleted it because the scope gave me such a hard time talking to my PC. I actually was ready. I actually was ready to delete everything on it just to clean the scope off, thinking that was the error. Thank God I didn't. I would have lost my best piece of evidence.
Yeah. And that's on the YouTube channel too?
Yeah.
Okay. I haven't.
And I can send. I'll send that to you. Yeah. I'll make sure I send it to you.
Now, have you ever seen a Bigfoot, flesh and blood, like right in front of you in your travels? You said you had a few sightings beyond. Yeah.
One time with a camera, daytime, I saw this black silhouette in the distance rocking between the trees, and I got a few shots of that. And then I dropped the camera, went to manual focus to make sure I was focusing on, like infinity basically. And it was gone. I mean, within what does it take to change your camera to, auto to manual? It was a Nikon D300 I was using at the time. And, 2 seconds, So, but I do have the image, which is, typical Bigfoot. It's a little, the camera is on autofocus, so it's kind of ranging somewhere in the middle. So it's a little bit of, it almost looks like a paranormal silhouette in the distance.
Yeah,
but I have that too. So those are the kind of the better ones I've gotten. I've got tons of prints. We've had rocks thrown at us. I mean, we've had a lot of experiences, a lot of weird audio. Now, as far as hoops and howls, I'm suspect of those two now, because once you start publishing a place that's known as Bigfoot Central, you don't know who's out there.
Right.
So that's why I try to get more visual things I can document, personal experiences. And it stinks you have to write things off, but we write off things that most people would die for. I mean, but we talk about it going it's this and that, but it could be this. We have to look at each other. Going, you're right. And we just don't publish it. We keep it, but we don't publish it,
Well, I don't know what the situation down there is like, but I had a guest on recently who was talking about hermits and just hermits in general. And it's like, they're not really around as much anymore, but they are still around. So it's possible there could be people living in the woods, right? It's not a question.
It's possible. Sure. And, you go through slow times and people are hurting the economy and, but I don't want to get into any politics. I stay away from that, but.
Yeah. I just mean, people might just decide to drop out if they're outdoors people and they're like, all right, look, I'm just going to live in the forest now. I'm fucking done. Yeah. I'm going to be a hermit. So it's not out of the question. I mean, there's some wild stories from down south, that kind of stuff. So.
Oh, sure. Definitely.
Did you find it? What was it like? As you said earlier, you and the guy from, I think you said Baltimore, were kind of reminiscing. So what was it like for you to move from the north down to the south? Because I'm from Boston, so I can empathize with you about what but also imagine, because I've been thinking about leaving the north and heading down south. So what is it? What's it like to be that kind of fish out of water down there?
It's a much slower pace, which is not a bad thing. But at first you get frustrated. I mean, I'd come down here, trying to get a cup of coffee, and as someone's in front of me and they're talking to, the person at the counter, and how's your mom doing? Oh, okay. And they're into this conversation. I'm looking at my watch hey, I want to get my coffee.
God.
Meantime,
I would lose my mind, dude.
You have to learn to just put that aside. It's a slower pace. They live longer down here. They're not stressed out. We're just running 100 miles an hour. And I've learned to talk slower too. I mean, I was a speed talker like a lot of people from New York are. And you just have to learn to slow. And the cussing, oh my God, I still do that. And as mayor, I'd be running town hall meetings, and I'd be talking. All of a sudden, I see the room go, it's like, oh my God, what'd I say?
Yeah.
I didn't even know. I just threw a cuss word in there. Wasn't even paying attention. It's just automatic, The only downfalls I would say for down here is I'm from Long Island, where everything's overbuilt. You have to travel for things. Renee and I travel in at least once a week into Roanoke Rapids, which means nothing to anybody, but it's about 45 minutes away where there's Lidl's and Aldi's and Sam's, and we can pick up some basic groceries and stuff. Otherwise, we get the Piggly Wiggly in town, which which is bare minimum, and they're famous for being the first supermarket where you could actually pick things off the shelf yourself instead of giving someone like the clerk a list. They fill a box for you. Well, they never move. They never move beyond that for much. I mean, it's kind of basic. So.
Interesting. Yeah. Because I'm imagining you're in New York City and now you're in a town of like 600 people. It must be.
Oh yeah, it's weird.
Culture shock. Yeah.
Trying to get your cell phone to work, internet, things like that. Another thing, if we're up north, we're used to good bread. It's hard to get good bread here.
Really?
I'm not even going to go into the bagel thing. That's a whole different thing. But just regular crusty bread just doesn't really. It's hard to find. Everything down here. You look at this loaf of bread. It looks good. You pick it up, and it's basically it's Wonder Bread with a crust or a light crust.
Yeah.
And it's just so that's another issue. But you get used to it. You just learn how to make do, and the few places that have it cater to the ones that are looking for that. But it's minor. I mean, the cost of living is so much cheaper down here. People down here bitch about taxes. They have no idea. I bet. Yeah. It's just a whole nother world. But yeah, I'm happy here. We might be moving, like I'm saying. We don't know what we're going to do if we're going to stay here. I'd like to be in the place I'm in for at least another year or two. But we're looking at possibly getting another building. I would love to move. We have a commercial structure now, but to have a commercial structure where I could have a little bit of property around it, maybe an old church or something, and have the living quarters there too. That'd be ideal for me.
Yeah, I see.
Kind of everything wrapped in one. And I'm getting older. I'm no spring chicken, so.
Right. The original place was that, right? It was like a residence museum.
Literally, yeah. And that's another thing. I mean, in New York, you never could have got away with running a business, a museum that was, nationally known and bringing people in, buses stopping and all that sort of stuff. In a residential neighborhood, they would have shut you down in a heartbeat for zoning and stuff. And here, it's kind of like, you're kind of entertained by it,
Yeah, exactly. And these people are going to the restaurants in town, I'm sure. And, looking around, doing a little shopping, and that's exactly what the town wants. So, yeah.
And that's what we've done. We've actually, the town's become more of a, more self-aware and taking advantage of what we can. If you own a store, you're going to do it, put a sidewalk sale up, but let everyone know. Everyone do it. It's like, it actually benefits you if everybody does it. It's like, there's things that just work kind of. Just try to explain tourism to some people here. Just, tourism isn't getting someone from the town over. It's bringing people from other states, other countries. And that's truly tourism.
Right. Well, I'm sure in some ways it's kind of hard for people to believe. Like, why would anyone come from Europe to come see our little town? But it's like,
and we get that all the time.
Yeah.
And it's, so it took a long time. A lot of people now saying, oh, this is amazing what you've done. It's brought things in. But there's still people still like, just never going to like me, never going to like what we're doing. It's just, and that's the way life is. I mean, you're not going to win everybody over.
Yeah. Exactly.
And if you're looking for that, you're going to be a miserable person.
Exactly. That's for sure. That's the truth. Now, you got a thing. I've heard only a little bit about this in the past. I'm vaguely familiar with the Dybbuk box. You got a Dybbuk box there?
Yeah, we got one of those. It was donated by a family. It was a Jewish family from Virginia Beach. Supposedly, I haven't looked inside. There's supposed to be some like hair and teeth in it. Now, one of the family members opened it, which is a big no-no for a Dybbuk box.
Yeah.
But we have it in a lucite box sealed here. So, but at least we do have one. Some people, sensitives come in. I'm not a sensitive, and they pick up things from it, feel there's something negative attached to it. Dybbuk boxes go from, people thinking they're the creepiest thing in the world to other people thinking they're just total garbage and there's no real past of it. So, but we deal with all that. When people come in, we explain. We're not trying to tell everyone, we're not here to sell you Bigfoot. We're not here to sell you the paranormal, ufology. We're here to tell the story. I'm a journalist. If you like it, you enjoy it, great. If you're really into it, I can give you more information. We can go down the road. I've got a wall in here that talks about the serial killing story. It's a storyboard I have one up. It's about a 10 by 10 wall. All the stuff there I got to redo. So, I can pretty much go into a lot of different things and talk to people. They generally like it. You see, most of the reviews are 5 stars and better, and they really have a good time here.
Yeah.
We're very hands-on. We talk to people. We do everything we can to make people happy. And
Oh, I can tell. I bet you have a great time, sort of, being the ringmaster of this place.
Oh yeah, it's a blast. I mean,
a lot of fun.
It's like I said, it's the last thing in the world I thought I'd be doing down here, but I enjoy it. I want to get more on the road. My dream was to have this run itself, and I could travel more and just do more documentaries, more videos, more interviews, because that's where I'm happiest, is out talking to people and interviewing people.
Yeah. Now, what is this serial killer wall you're talking about?
Well, that's
the one about the New York guy or something in North Carolina?
No, this is one in New York. Goes back to New York. This is a bunch of young sex workers. Yeah, I have it in the museum because I'm so involved with it. I worked with People magazine, 48 hours on that. Bob Kohler wrote a book, which is a movie on Netflix called Lost Girls in a Book.
Yeah. I mean, I'm very familiar with this case. I've been following the Long Island serial killer. Yeah.
It's either called Gilgo Beach Killer or Long Island serial killer list. I was the guy there for the longest time. I lived in Bay Shore. I was around the corner. I mean, I knew Joe Brewer. Dr. Hackett used to call me. Now, the Rex guy was not on our radar at all. Jimmy Burke, the chief of police, who went to federal prison. I used to go drinking with the guy. I mean, I was so connected. There's certain things I can't go into because it's going to be in the book, but I mean, I have so much insight on this. I dealt with a lot of the families, the moms. I mean, obviously, I never met any of these young women. They were all dead at the time. Yeah. And this guy, Rex, had property in Maine. He had property in Vegas, South Carolina, and of course, Long Island. He's a big-time architect out of Manhattan. He went to school with Stevie Baldwin, Alec Baldwin's younger brother. I dealt with Alec a lot in, the Hamptons thing. He was a friend of Billy and stuff. I mean, so it kind of fit right into my world here. And it was like right around the corner. I mean, so it was just crazy.
Yeah. I don't want to say a fan, but I'm very interested in I'm a big true crime buff. So.
Yeah.
When they arrested the alleged, right? Yeah, got to say that, right?
Exactly.
The alleged Long Island serial killer, Rex Heuermann. I was like, holy shit, because you almost never see breaks in cases like these.
Right. Well, it was covered up. I mean, the cops did not want to do anything with it. And if you want, I'll talk to you off the thing. I can give you a reason for that. And there's a whole backstory on it. But it's crazy. I can't go into it now because of legal reasons.
I totally understand.
But
I got some other questions about this for you, though. So you can say, "Oh, I can't get into that if you want." But I mean, because when you mentioned that, I was like, "Oh, holy shit!" I thought we were going to be talking about the museum, and we have, obviously. But then I'm like, I put it as soon as you mentioned that. I started typing in the notes like Rex Heuermann, exclamation, like make sure you don't let him go without getting into this. So you were connected with a bunch of these people sort of in the scene of looking for this guy. Now they arrested him, I want to say like in the summer of 23. Right. Did you have any inclination? Did anyone go, hey, Steven, you're down there in North Carolina, I just want to give you a heads up. Something's fucking breaking like in the next week.
I'm still connected to all these people. They told me there's something, there was an arrest coming up, something was going to be happening. You got to remember, like I was the only journalist invited to the Suffolk County Christmas parties 2 years in a row. In the first year by Jimmy Burke, the chief of police at the time, who's now is kind of, like I said, back at that time, that was a badge of honor. Now I don't know how much.
Right. Yeah.
But I remember being there and just, detectives coming going, what the hell's he doing here? And the chief going, he's with me. It's like, so that's what I'm saying. Oh, wow. These days, it can almost come back to haunt you. But it was crazy. But that was your job as a journalist, to make friends, hobnob. When things are slow, that's when you go out and you beat the bushes and, go out and talk to people and keep those connections going. And it paid out for me. It really did. Not at the very end when the Daily News was, it wasn't bought out. It was the same owner. We brought totally new management and all my bosses got fired. And then I never got canned. I got cut at the end. And I just said, I'm done. Because I knew I could see the writing on the wall. They all the people at the desk, when you got to stick around. I said, no, I'm not. I mean, I can't work part-time. I got bills to pay,
Yeah, exactly.
And that's when I started looking.
Just to circle back. So before they arrested this guy, they someone in the scene was like, hey, Steven, there's going to be an arrest soon. Like you knew kind of was coming up.
I knew something was coming down. I didn't know who. And when the name came out, I made phone calls. I said, yep, that's the guy. And I went through my records and stuff, and I had nothing on this guy. He was not on the radar.
Yeah. It's amazing. Yeah, I know. That's what I've been reading, that like they had no clue And the remarkable part is, I'm sure you've seen it. There's even like a lengthy, not as long as the interview we've just done, but like a 30-minute fucking interview with the guy about architecture and shit.
It's have you seen that? Is that
so
creepy?
Weird. Yeah.
Now, I go a little bit into that, too. I have a document here. I'll send you a picture of it. They found on his computer. But he talks about a tack hammer, how he does. Sometimes you need a hammer just to knock things. If you remember that in part of the interview?
Yeah.
He talks about his father. He has this weird kind of relationship with his father. I mean, so it just gets creepy. I mean, I probably know a lot. I'm probably giving up more than I probably should. But I know a lot more stuff than, It's just weird. I mean, but like I said,
it's a wild case.
I've been going through all my old hard drives and laptops I had at the time. Whenever we had a news conference with the families and Mayor Gilbert, who got killed by one of her daughters, and I dealt with all these folks. Whenever we had these press conferences, I get Johnny Ray, the lawyer, to do pro bono work. He's a buddy of mine from Mayor Gilbert. Now he's gotten involved with so many of the other families. But I would film the parking lot because every creep in the world would come out to these things. It was just the strangest thing. And I would just, we used to call it spraying, but just kind of like film the parking lot slowly, pan. Because I was curious who's there. And I'm trying to find some of my old video of that. I'm wondering, because back then Rex had that green Chevy Avalanche first edition, if he would actually come and watch the press conferences.
Oh, that would be creepy, but it wouldn't be.
It would be crazy, but it wouldn't make any difference. But it would just kind of like, wow, he was actually that interested, because that's what these people do.
Yeah,
I mean, there was these weird, creepy dolls left at the sites where the bodies were found. The families put crosses out there, and the people in the community, it's a very Tony area, and hated them. And basically, I remember one day I was driving by. I lived right around the corner in Bay Shore. As I cruised by, I see these dolls out there. They're called timeout dolls. If you saw the common thing at car shows, a doll comes with his hand over his eyes, facing away. And I called some of the family members, Mayor Gilbert. I called Missy and a few others, and a lot of people are gone now. And they called each other. They go, Steve, we didn't put them there. Take them down. So I'm not touching them. So I ended up calling up the chief of police and homicide, and they had no interest. I mean, maybe you want to come out and grab these things, look for DNA, but they just had no interest.
Yeah,
I mean, that's common.
Process,
once there's, was dead sex workers, everyone, they're like disposable, and this is why the serial killers go after these girls. They're just, they generally don't have family that knows where they are. They usually don't have loved ones for too much. I mean, some do. That's a terrible thing to say, but some of these girls are involved in drugs. A lot of them aren't. It's a way to make money. Some of them actually brought babies to the job. There's no daycare in sex work. And one of them, they had this Jane Doe and Baby Doe. The baby was found out there buried. So
it's a tough life, man. It's it's wild. So if this thing goes to trial, are you going to go up there and cover the trial, or is that your
I'd like to,
or whatever?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'd like to do up there, and that's kind of my plan is to do more of this. Now that I'm getting done, my whole life's changed. You go through a divorce, and so now I'm kind of like changing gears, deciding what I do. Like I said, I want to do a lot more traveling, promote more of this stuff, just keep things going. So
and you're working. I'm
sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say you're working on a book on this human case.
Yeah, I definitely can do. My daughters used to give me a hard time because I always helped. Like I helped all these other people do things, documentaries, books. So you should be doing this, and it's like, but I just never did. I was always working 7 days a week. Well, now I'm kind of kicking myself, but I still have so much stuff that no one else has. That's why there's things I can't talk about. And I can tell you some things on the side if you want, but crazy stuff. And and I'm drinking through my hard drives to find some of this stuff. I mean, just like being at the Christmas parties. I have photos, all that stuff, and just the conversations there, and
wild. Yeah,
just this story alone.
So you were kind of like hot on the trail, then the case went cold, and then you went down to North Carolina, and next thing you know,
they weren't doing anything with the case. The case never. I wouldn't say it went cold as much as the cops just didn't care.
Yeah.
One of the things I will tell you, I remember reaching out to the chief and saying, listen, Hurricane Sandy blew through. We just got done covering all that. And you got to run cadaver dogs through the beach area there. Now everything's disturbed. And I was told the last thing we needed to do was find any more damn dead hookers. I mean, that was just the attitude. Yeah. I mean, they just didn't care. And I've come down here. Now, there's a whole problem with women going missing, especially indigenous women down in Lumberton. which is down by the South Carolina border. And I've had
Yeah.
families reach out to me. My daughter was killed and dumped in a garbage can upside down like garbage.
Jesus.
And the cops, and the same story there. The police just don't care. And this is a common theme. It's just they're busy doing either busy doing nothing or they're busy doing real crime that they consider important, and they just can't be bothered chasing down these people that put themselves in harm's way. Which I think I had cops tell me up in New York, like these are just whores. I said they're somebody's daughters.
Yeah, exactly.
Shannon Gilbert could make more money in one night doing one of these parties, these sex parties, that her mom made working 2 weeks at Kmart. I mean, so there's incentive for it. Not everybody's a drug addict. Some are supporting them. Most of them didn't have pimps. Most of these girls are independents going through Craigslist. I mean, it's a huge thing. I mean, I learned so much about this working this story. I was so naive.
Well, hey, it's the oldest profession in the world, right?
Yep.
So it's there's a reason why they say that. It's been around forever. Yeah. Wild. What an interesting life you've had from sort of getting mixed up in all that, and then the stuff you were covering in New York, and now you're this sort of like paranormal Bigfoot impresario of North Carolina. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, you never know what life's going to take you. Yeah, we really don't. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, none of this was planned. I mean, it was just, I guess when it came down here and I started just chasing these Bigfoot stories and interviewing people, I guess it was like a relief getting away from the crazy dealing with life and death and families and this emotion. But you can never get away from that. Once you get into these people's lives, they always reach out to you. You're always back there, and you can't step away. You need to be there and help those folks.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's like I said, I didn't know any of this about you before we got started, so I was like, "Holy shit, this guy's mixed up in the in the Gilgo Beach serial killer case. This is pretty wild." Yeah, very interesting. Well, I'll be interested to see how it pans out because I'll
keep you in the loop. Anytime I get anything on the inside, I'll send it to you.
Yeah, definitely. Because I've been following it, and some of the stuff they had a hearing like last year at some point where they had gotten into his computers and shit, and
I got that document if you want it.
Yeah, well, I think I've read the document. Yeah, I think I've seen it.
It's creepy. He talks about disposing of the bodies and stuff. Now, they found over 350 electronic devices between his home and his office. I'm a journalist. I have tons of hard drives, laptop. I don't have 350 electronic devices. He talks about cameras here. Now, these guys love to document things. They save things. That's a common serial killer here. So, I mean, he's got video of these girls.
It's crazy. The document, folks, is like, it's horrifying. It's like nightmare material. It's like this guy, it's like his, I don't even know, it's like his TPS report on the murder where he breaks down like what worked and what didn't, and shitty, next time don't do this, and next time try this differently.
Here's what I'm reading off the wall now. Get sleep before hunt. Tired creates problem. Hit harder. More playtime. Remember not to charge gas. I mean, just like a punch list that you and I would put together if we're going to go campy. Like, don't forget propane, bring beer, sauerkraut. It's like, But this is a list on how to, dismember bodies, look for cameras. Don't forget to do. I mean, obviously, issues he had, and he's learning from doing so many murders.
Yeah, it's wild. It really is. And that's why I got sidetracked there. But do you even think this is going to go to trial, or do you think he's just going to plead guilty because the evidence is so overwhelming?
I don't know. I mean, his lawyer, I actually know his lawyer. I think they're going to try to ride this out as long as they can because, I can't see anything but the death sentence for him.
Yeah. Do they have the death penalty?
I don't know if they do in New York anymore. Did they change it again? I mean, at minimum, he's doing life. He's going to do life, and he's not going to offend.
He's never going to see the light of day. Yeah,
he's a big guy, but he's not a tough guy. I mean, if it's not a little 5-foot woman, he's not going to offend well in prison.
Yeah. Wild. Well, I'll be keeping an eye on this story as I have anyway, and now I've got to have you in mind when I see the update. Well,
we can do a whole nother video on that.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And so the Bigfoot Museum is for folks who want to check it out. It's facebook.com/cryptopara. And you also want to go to Stephen Barcelo on YouTube. That's where you can check out all of Stephen's videos. And there are a lot there. They're awesome. And like I said, that Jesse Walker one is one that's unforgettable. That really is for me. I mean, I I still, I looked it up tonight when I was getting ready to talk to you, and I was like, holy shit, this video stays with you.
It's raw emotion. Raw emotion.
Yeah. Yeah. And so what's next for you? You're going to, obviously the museum is, still rolling along. It's probably kind of quiet right now in the wintertime.
Oh, yeah.
Does it get hopping like in the spring and the summer?
Yeah, I imagine now it's going to be kicking butt as this gets better and better. I mean, COVID kind of killed us. We were in talks for actually a pilot for a TV show before. I mean, they loved what we were doing. The fact that, they liked the fact that, I had that credibility as a journalist, an elected official, and doing this crazy museum. And, but COVID killed all that stuff. A lot of shows, that didn't last. And hopefully something happens that we can just kind of move on. I do a little bit of the circuit travel, do some of the conventions. I got to do a little more of that. But, cost of gas and everything, it's just rough. I get out when I can. I even chase weather. I do a little storm chase, and I guess it's just
really
the journalist in me. I like to go out and do whatever I can do.
You're a fascinating cat, Stephen. You really
I'm an idiot. I'm
taking with you, man. I'm taking with you. I like this a lot. So you're probably going to be hopping like in the spring, summer. Do you do any, like big event or anything? Is there any festival or big?
Yeah, we used to do conventions. We used to do a Bigfoot in the park at Meetup Mountain. Of course, that's shut now because they're renovating the park. So we have to figure that out again. And I used to do a convention at Lakeland Culture Arch, which now, which was our last event was phenomenal. We did this huge screen. We did videos, like an old movie theater screen, just massive. Really went off well. But now it's run by different people. It's called Acorn, and I'm trying to get that figured out. They want ridiculous money to rent the place, but those things are hard to make money at, especially when you only have you have just under 400 seats. You can only charge so much. You're trying to keep it reasonable, and you bring in Ken Gearhart's a friend. He's come to a couple of our events. Maybe you fly Ken in from San Antonio, Texas, and his fee and a hotel room. I mean, one person gets pricey, let alone you get two or three in there, and then try to make some money. You know the routine.
I know,
and people just don't know how hard it is to run these things, and the logistics and all the rest. So we got to, they're coming out of COVID now. We're reinventing ourselves. I lost a fortune off COVID. I mean, some people I laid out money for, and I'll give you that a backstory too. People wanted their money up front. COVID came, never paid us back. It's like, well, you never showed. You didn't do anything. It's like, So
you mentioned COVID multiple times tonight. I think it must have had quite an impact on your life.
Oh, it did. I mean, as a roadside attraction, we literally shut down. We were shut for 2.5 years. It's devastating. And that's why a lot of, not even just crypto, Bigfoot stuff. I mean, regular roadside attractions just shut down. There's one up in PA. Oh, what the hell is Roadside America. Yeah. And I used to love it. Whenever I went by, going to Hershey with the kids or something, I used to stop there and they had a big railroads thing. And like some guy had his train thing and it was massive. That one shut. I mean, it's been around forever. I mean, since I guess at least the 50s, maybe even earlier. Yeah, and it's just so many places. Just it's hard enough to keep these museums afloat, just making bare minimum, and all it takes is one bad year, and you're just you're underwater.
Yeah, for sure. Well, hats off to you for keeping it going, and I envy you, man. It is a roadside attraction. We're calling it a museum. Of course, it's a museum and a roadside attraction. I'm very envious because I love a good roadside attraction, and it's like you kind of give me hope. Maybe I can grow up in my later years and have my own roadside attraction because sounds like the fucking life, to be honest with you. It really does. The people.
Well, thanks to you too. You've been so good to the museum and doing our stories, and we really appreciate that, and that's important.
Oh, my pleasure, man. My pleasure. I love what you're doing down there, and I think your story is tremendous. Like I said, like a fish out of water from New York. When you hear Cryptozoology Paranormal Museum in Littleton, North Carolina, I'm expecting a guy who sounds like from down south, and it's like, oh wait, this guy's got a thick New York accent. Wait, what the fuck's going on here? So I love it. I think it's awesome. I think it's really cool, and I love what you're doing for the town down there, man. It's really awesome, and we're going to meet someday, maybe, I don't know about this year, maybe next year sometime in the not too distant future. I'm going to make my way down to Littleton because I want to check this place out.
And I'm going to be heading back up north. So I'll be, next time I'm heading up that way, there's a couple of places. I got to go back to the Shanley Hotel where I got the Ghost Cat. I talked to them. I want to see if lightning strikes twice. We can get something there. So I won't be too far from you. Maybe I'll head up that way. And I got to go up and see Lauren too. Go pick on Lauren.
Yeah, have you ever met Lauren?
No, I've only talked to him online.
Oh yeah, you gotta come up and see his museum before it moves to Bangor. It's pretty fucking awesome. It's pretty awesome. It's I
mean, he's the grandfather of this stuff, doing all the books and stuff. I mean,
oh yeah, he's the icon.
Yeah.
All right. Well, like I said, the website is facebook.com/cryptopara. You can pretty much figure that out, folks. Cryptopara. Stephen Barcelo has been the guest. You look him up on YouTube also for a lot of that stuff that he's referenced tonight. And of course, the museum is the Cryptozoology and Paranormal Museum in Littleton, North Carolina. I love what you're doing, man. It's been a blast talking to you, and I look forward to talking to you again in the future and hopefully hanging out at some point down the line, brother.
Yeah, it's great. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. You've been excellent to us. I always appreciate what you've done for the field, and keep it up.
Esoteric.